Hello again from my front porch, and happy 4th of July 2019. I'm all freshened up again. I was out this morning helping a friend of mine, Larry McBurney, who is running for city council in Urbandale. Walked with him in the Urbandale parade this morning, and I was glad I did. It was a lot of fun. It was also hot and a good 2-mile walk. So definitely got the steps in today. If I was keeping track of them, that might matter. But regardless, did that today. So that was good. And I do wish Larry all the best. He's a good friend of mine, and hey, as I've said before, I always wish my friends success in whatever it is they strive to do. And if they're running a business, I wish them success. If they're doing a fundraiser or a civic group thing, I wish them success. In his particular case, he's running for office, so I wish him success. Now, among the things that I also had a chance to connect with, actually in the entry in the parade right in front of us was a group of Republicans, that the state level Republicans, and their special guests were Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds and U.S. Congressman David Young. I was going to say David, but then I paused. But so Congressman Young and Governor Reynolds were both there. Now I know some people like him, some people don't like him. Doesn't matter. I thought it was very interesting to have the governor of your state and your congressman right there and be able to say hello to them. And so went over and did a photo op, and Bobby Vita Van Rokel, one of the Vita sisters, she jumped in on that too, because she's also the mindset that, hey, it doesn't even matter whether you totally agree with the person's politics or not. The fact is, here's our governor and our congressperson, and if you take a picture with them. So we did that, and that was great. But that really it's been rolling around in my head since then, because there were others that kind of gave a little odd look, like, why are you taking a picture with them? Because they don't like those individuals. And even walking in the parade, I had individuals asking me if Larry McBurney, who I was working for in the parade, was Republican or was he Democrat. And I kept trying to point out to him, it's a city council election. There are no party affiliations. And they'd say, yeah, I get that, but how is he going to vote? Again, he's not supposed to be voting Republican or Democrat or whatever. That's beside the issue. The problem is that's become the issue. That's how we now think. We think in a two-party system way, and that's become, in my opinion, a cancer, eating away at the ability of our nation to actually come together and do anything substantive at the national level, at the state level, and now apparently even at the local level, where that obsession with party politics seems to be just working its way down into even those local city races that are not supposed to have partisan connection whatsoever. Now, it would be very easy for me at this point to go off on talking about this and complaining about it, but I want to take this now. I want to take a hard left turn here, a hard right turn, just a hard turn, whichever way you prefer. I realize now in the context, left and right might not be the best references to make. But I just want to take instead of the direction you think we're going, I want to take a hard turn, because there are flaws in our system. There are problems. There are holes big enough to drive a semi through in how our government approaches doing things. Things that I might agree with, things I might not agree with, and you and I might not even see eye to eye on some of those things either. But for all the flaws there are, for all the individuals who might be in office that maybe shouldn't be in office, and for all the individuals who should be in office that hopefully will be able to win elections, like Larry, for example, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Now, granted, it's a little difficult for me to make an educated evaluation because I've never lived anywhere else. The United States is the only nation I've ever lived in. But what I do know is that we have a border crisis going on, where we have all these people trying to flood across the border, some legally and a whole lot illegally, and they're trying to do that for a reason. And people say, well, it's to escape what they were coming from. I understand, I get that, I realize that's to escape. But the point is, they're trying to escape from it by coming here, because in spite of all these problems, you have these individuals who still see the United States as the place to go to where you have a shot at improving your life. There's so many other ways that the United States continues to be revered around the world. Now, you go into politics, into political discussions, depending on which side you're on, they'll talk about, is our standing better or worse, are we respected, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the actual reality of what America does and what we're able to accomplish and what the rest of the world really does recognize about the quality that is the United States. And in spite of the blemishes, in spite of the problems, in spite of the things that might cause us to just sit back and go, oh, that depresses me. I can't believe my government is doing that. In spite of those things, I still wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And neither would you. Because especially if you're someone who raises your voice and challenges the status quo of some of those things, who says, this isn't right, we need to not do this. There are a whole lot of places around the world you wouldn't even be able to do that. Yes. The United States has a whole lot of things that we should be working on, and hopefully we are working on or will be working on. But it's still, in my opinion, the best nation on the face of the planet. There's no competition. Now, are there other countries that might do this thing or that thing better than what it appears we're doing in the United States? Sure. There are those. But when you take a nation as a whole, I still believe the United States is the nation that most people would like to be in if they were given the choice. And a lot of people who take that choice into their own hands choose to do whatever it takes, even life-threatening journeys, to come here. Why? Because it is still the greatest nation in the world. And you can argue with me about it. You can say, yeah, well, but the United States does this. The United States, okay, fine. Badmouth it all you want. It doesn't matter to me. Because what matters to me at the end of the day is that this is still land of the free and the home of the brave. And I don't mean those just as cliches. I mean, this is the nation where we have the Bill of Rights, which continue to be, we have to keep an eye on them, make sure that government doesn't intrude on those things. The Bill of Rights is about keeping government from intruding on those rights, and government continues to want to try. But still, we have those rights. We have rights that we all just take for granted, and we use those rights to complain about the very nation that affords us the rights. That's the beauty of what those rights are. Someone shake their head and be like, how can you use freedom of speech, for example, to complain about the country? If it wasn't for the country, you wouldn't have the freedom of speech. Well, there is truth to that, but the fact that you can complain openly and not face a jail sentence or punishment from the government is, in my opinion, the best testimonial to how great our nation still is. The fact that, I am not a fan of the recent skirmish that came up about Nike wanted to do the shoes that had the Betsy Ross flag on there, and that apparently Colin Kaepernick, or however you pronounce his name, he had objected, saying that it was connected to slavery, and so Nike then withdrew those plans. Personally, I think that was dumb. I just do. I think that's silly. Again, speaking as a former history teacher, I know that Betsy Ross's flag had nothing to do with slavery. It was the first identity of a new nation, a nation that had fought a revolution and earned the right to stand on its own. Now, were there slave owners within that nation? Yes, there were. But that flag was not about slavery. And yet, even though I don't agree with Nike on that decision, and if they were to make those shoes available still, I might even buy a pair now. I wouldn't have considered buying them before now. But if somebody else, if some other company were to release the same basic thing, I might patronize them and buy those shoes just because now, because of the statement. Because this is a great land. It's a great nation. That is a piece of history that's important. And that's a piece of history that's important. And Colin Kaepernick being able to express his opinion about what that flag is, even though I think his opinion is wrong, he still has the right to express the opinion. Now, he might face some blowback from people, like myself or whoever, that, say, oh, he's wrong. That's not what it's for. But he's not getting arrested for that. He's not getting thrown in jail for that. He's not putting his life in jeopardy because he's making that statement. He's able to express himself. Another thing, I sing national anthem, and I consider that a high honor when I'm able to go and perform the national anthem somewhere. And there's that whole squabble about, well, should people stand? Should they be allowed to kneel? Should they remain sitting? Whatever. And I'll tell you what, if there's someone who has an issue and wants to object and they want to remain sitting or they want to take a knee, I'm okay with it. And why am I okay with it? Because they can. Because they can do so without retribution. The fact that they can do that type of silent protest, if you will, and not face legal issue is an actual endorsement, an actual support for how great the nation is that flag stands for. So in a roundabout way, they're actually saying the opposite of what their protest might be attempting to say, in my opinion. Now, I know others don't see it that way. I get that. But in my opinion, someone who says, you know what, no, I cannot stand for the national anthem, therefore I'm going to remain seated, I'm totally cool with that. Because they have made a choice of their own principle to remain seated, and in doing so, they have taken advantage of the rights afforded to them that flag represents. Good for you. It's a whole lot better than the moronic individuals who are checking their phones or drinking their beers or telling jokes or checking out the girls walking by or the guys walking by, whatever, while the national anthem is going on. See, those people are oftentimes the first ones to complain. So and so, they didn't pay attention. They didn't show reverence. Yeah, well, guess what? You weren't showing reverence either. In fact, you were even worse. That's a whole different story. My point still being, I love in America. I can list the faults just like anybody else can, and yet I still believe it is the greatest nation in the world. Flaws and all, that's okay with me. We can work on those things. We stick with it. We link our arms together. We move forward. We'll get it done. But because of our freedoms here in America, we actually have the ability to work on it and get it done. So, this 4th of July, I'm not going to try to whitewash the problems and the blemishes that our nation has. I'm just going to focus on the fact that our nation is an awesome nation. Blemishes and all, we are still the United States of America, the greatest nation in the world. And with that, I'll see you next time from my front porch.